Do you want to help your pet lose weight? It's not always as simple as just cutting back on their food or cutting back on the treats. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the steps that I might take when I'm creating a weight loss plan for a dog or a cat. If you notice that your pet is getting overweight, I always recommend talking to your veterinarian, or in some cases, a board-certified veterinarian in nutrition or a certified pet nutritionist. This is because it may be more complex than just cutting back the total amount they're being fed. When I'm discussing weight with owners, one of the first things that I will do is I will assess the overall health of the pet. Do I see anything on a physical exam that makes me nervous? We also want to rule out underlying diseases that may predispose your pet to putting on and maintaining extra weight, like hypothyroidism, an underactive thyroid, or Cushing's disease. If the pet seems otherwise healthy, the next thing that I'll do is have the owner create me a food diary. I want to know everything that is going in this pet's mouth every single day. This means any table scraps, treats, any food they're getting. I want to know it all. I have the owners keep a food journal for me over the course of a week. Now, it's important to point out here that every pet is going to have their own individual nutritional needs based on many factors. This can include things like species, breed, age, and underlying health conditions. In simple cases, we may find out that it is just a matter of cutting back on the treats. That's the source of the extra calories. But in some cases, it can get more complicated than that. Now, if the problem isn't that straightforward, we do need to start looking at nutritional balance. In some cases, we need to look at the fact that we can't just cut back on the amount of food fed because we're going to be putting the pet at risk for a nutritional imbalance. This means that we are now not providing the appropriate proportions of things like protein, fat, and fiber that they need to maintain a healthy body weight. By creating this food diary, it's going to help me determine how many calories per day the dog is currently eating. To figure out how many calories in theory your pet should be getting, now it's time for us to do some math. First, we're going to start by calculating a pet's resting energy requirement, or RER. When we're doing this, we are determining the minimum number of calories that your pet needs to maintain at rest. To work this out, we use this formula. Once we've calculated your pet's resting energy requirement, or RER, now it's time to calculate their maintenance energy requirement, or MER. This daily calorie allowance is going to take into account factors that might impact the amount of energy they use every day. Let's use an example of a healthy, medium-sized, neutered male dog. Let's say 15 kilos. This equation is popping up on screen now. The factor that we use to multiply RER by to get MER, or your maintenance energy requirements, is going to vary based on some factors. This might include your pet's age, if they are obese prone or trying to lose weight, or even if they are very active. For example, if your pet is a healthy, neutered dog, oftentimes we will be using the factor 1.6. Now, you may find in pets that are overweight or obese prone, we are using a smaller number, and that is because those pets are going to need less calories to maintain a healthy body weight. So we may be using something like 1 or 1.2. On the flip side, in pets that are extremely active, so those are going to be our working breeds, our German short-haired pointers, our collies, they are going to need a lot more calories based on the amount of activity they do every day to maintain a healthy weight. So their factor that we'll be using is going to be something as high as 2 or 3. For a weight loss plan, we're gonna go back to our math, and what we're gonna do is we're going to calculate RER and MER based on our goal or our ideal body weight. So let's go back to our example of our 15 kilo dog. We'll say this dog is a little overweight, and let's use 11 kilos as our new goal. We're going to use 11 kilos in our calculations to get a rough idea of how many calories that dog would need to maintain a healthy weight at 11 kilos. Once we've calculated the resting energy requirement for an 11 kilo dog, we will then use the appropriate maintenance factor to multiply to get the MER, or the maintenance energy requirement. It's really important for me to point out to people that these calculations are just a starting point. It is very common that we are going to be doing some adjusting for pets once we get the number. It's a ballpark. It's a place for us to start. I've had many cases where we have an idea in our head of what we want the weight to be and what the calories need to be, and we are continually adjusting based on the results we get throughout the process. The next part of the process for us is going to be choosing a food and choosing the amount of that food that is going to meet these calorie goals. Now, it's important that we do so under the recommendations of a professional because we want to make sure that we're still achieving the appropriate nutrient balance for that weight. We're going to talk more about this in our video about choosing the right food for overweight pets if you have more questions. We aim to start at the current calorie intake and slowly work down to the calculated calorie intake for our goal weight. We want to work at this over time, gradually. Now, it's important to note that also, in some cases, it may be appropriate to go straight to feeding the calculated calories for the weight. It is going to be dependent on the pet. This can be achieved with either a commercial weight loss diet or a home-cooked diet. Just make sure that either way you are consulting a veterinary professional to make sure that you are appropriately choosing nutrient levels for your pet. Safe weight loss should be done slowly. Ideally, we're aiming for no more than 1 to 2% loss of body weight per week. Often the weight loss plans that we create can take several months to reach the end goal, and that's okay. It's really important that we are regularly reassessing our progress throughout a weight plan. I see too many pets fail at weight loss plans because we don't have a set follow-up every time. So we want to make sure that we are reassessing things like body weight, body condition score, and body fat percentage as we go along the process to make sure we are achieving the goals that we want and doing so safely. It's important for us to point out that, similar to humans, what your pet is eating, the total amount of calories they are taking in, their diet is going to be a much bigger player when it comes to weight management and weight loss than activity. Exercise is important to keeping a happy, healthy animal, but it's important that we emphasize that diet is going to be the biggest player here. Don't forget that different pets are going to need different types and amounts of exercise. This is going to be dependent on things like age and breed. Now, a good rule of thumb to keep in mind is a lot of happy, healthy pets will appreciate about 30 minutes of exercise a day. But it's important to remember that smaller breed dogs may need this broken up into shorter, smaller sessions to achieve that 30 minutes. But if you're bringing home a working dog, like a German Shorthair Pointer, they may need upwards of 60 to 120 minutes of activity every day. I know we talk a lot about dogs, but I am also a crazy cat lady. Don't forget our cats. Cats need exercise too. If you have an indoor-outdoor cat, a lot of the times they're taking care of exercise on their own, but they still may need a little bit of help. For my indoor-only kitties, I am an indoor-only cat owner. We have to remember that we need to help provide exercise outlets for these guys also. This can include things like short play sessions with your mousie on a string, or even puzzle feeders. Finally, remember that weight loss is going to be so dependent on your individual pet's needs. If you think your pet needs a weight loss plan, I very much recommend consulting a professional like a veterinarian or a certified pet nutritionist so we can make sure that we do this safely.